Happy Monday, Mrs. Semiteklos here for another math tutorial. At the beginning of this week, we'll be working on rounding still, but we'll be working on rounding to the nearest hundred. So when we look at rounding to the nearest hundred, instead of looking at that ones place, we're going to move over and look at the tens place. We can still use that helpful reminder, 4 and below, let it go, but this time we're thinking 4 tens and below, let it go, and round down, or 5 tens and above, we round up to the next 100. We can also look at this visual like a roller coaster to see 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll go back down, 5 and above would go and round up. So for our homework tonight, the front side looks like this. This is very similar to what we did in teacher group. They'll have a 3-digit number, or on the back side, you'll see some 2-digit numbers, where they'll need to think about the hundreds that number is between. So if we have, for example, 368, we know that's between 300 and 100 more than that is 400. And then we look at that tens place and I see, oh, there are 6 tens. Well, I know that is going to be rounding up because we know 5 tens are above, give it a shove and round up to 400. If we look down at our first example, which we did with the students, we can see that 828 is between 800 and 900. Sorry, that's a little light. And then if we look at the tens place, we see there are 2 tens. So we know that's below 4 tens, so we're going to round it down. We know that 828 is only 28 away from 800, where it would be far more to round to 900. So we're going to round down to 800. At the bottom, you'll see where students are going to just write the number, that it rounds to. Get rid of this real quick. And so it's basically doing the same thing at the top, except you're just writing the answer. Now, if your child needs to think about the hundreds it's between as a helper, they are more than welcome to write it as support for that, but all they really need to write is the answer. So 125 is between 100 and 200, and looking in the tens place, I see there are 2 tens, so we know we're going to round down to 100. So on the line though, all they have to write is 100. And again, this is optional, but if they need to do it to help them, that is totally fine. And here are some examples as well. And then on the back, they'll have a chart. This chart is going to be rounding up and down to the nearest 100 still. So we have 324. Again, if it's helpful for them to think about the 200s it's between, that's fine. But we know it's between 300 and 400 with 2 in the tens place, so we're going to round down to 300. So within this column, you round the number to the nearest 100. And then here you're writing it in words, round up or round down. And in this case, we rounded down, so I'm going to write the words round down. And you would continue on the chart, and at the bottom there are 3 questions about rounding to the nearest 100 that your child will need to answer. Please make sure that you're thinking about rounding to the nearest 100 and looking in the tens place when doing homework this week. Thanks.